Vietnam has more than 13 million hectares of forest, covering over 40% of its land area. The vast forests provide vital ecosystem services, including watershed protection, biodiversity conservation, climate change mitigation, and provision of energy and natural resources. Through the unsustainable management process, forest area in Vietnam has reached to an alarming level. The quality of natural forests has degraded and affected biodiversity. Forest areas which are certified for sustainable forest management in 2015 reached 170,000 hectares, covering only 2% of the total forest area. In recent years, with the support of agencies and international organizations, the projects of sustainable forest management and protection were launched to preserve and restore forests. According to the Vietnam's Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, in the period 2016-2020, about 22.3 billion Vietnam dong were invested for the sustainable forest management, certification and enhancements for local capability. This is important for securing the people's livelihoods in the locality with large forest areas and sustains the country's economic development.
Hello and welcome to Sharing Vietnam on VTC Channel Vietnam Bằng Nhật. Forest is one of the most precious natural resources of Vietnam. In recent years, many kind of projects for enhancing the forestry management and protection activities has been implemented with the support of international organizations. So in our program today, we have a talk to Mr. Christopher Abrams, the Acting Mission Director of USAID in Vietnam, and he will share more about the topic of enhancing the forestry management and protection. Thank you, Mr. Christopher, for joining our program today. First of all, what is your evaluation on the activities of forestry management and protection in Vietnam in recent years?
I think Vietnam has a lot of things that could be that they should consider as very successful. In particular, Vietnam is one of the few countries in the world that has a negative deforestation rate. And what that means is, in the past, Vietnam was losing forests at a rapid rate, and through many different policies and procedures and sort of the efforts of the government working with communities, they've managed to reverse that trend. And now you have more forests today than you did 2 years ago. So it's very much a success story for the world to consider. The job is not done, but they're doing a very good job so far.
So in your opinion, what are the existing problems in Vietnam regarding to these issues?
A country like Vietnam, with an economic growth rate that can be as high as 5 to 7% a year, this rapid expansion of the Vietnamese economy over the last 20 years is posing new challenges. And one of those is how do you sustainably grow? How do you continue to have economic expansion and be able to sort of balance conservation and economic growth? And it just requires some smart policies to enable them to grow together. And that's the trick that Vietnam needs to work on. And I would say the second thing is that there's, by some estimates, 25 million people live inside or around Vietnam's forests. And even though the forest is intact, there's an issue of degradation. There needs to be some way to create a balance, because little activities by these individuals, over time degrade the quality of that forest. So the forest stays, but the quality of that forest is not as high as it could be. And so that's another thing that we're working with the government of Vietnam on, is to improve their livelihoods, at the same time reduce that level of degradation and really increase the health of Vietnam's forests.
Right. So what do you think about the importance of the activities of forestry management and protection to the sustainable development and climate change resilience activities from the community to national level?
Well, first of all, in terms of climate change, I'm not the first to say this, but without forests, there is no solution to climate change. And that's posing certain challenges, from sea level rise to changes in weather patterns and sort of microclimates in which you'll have excessive rain and then it'll be drought. Forests provide stability of soil, and it helps prevent erosion. Forests also essentially regulate the flow of water. So as you know, in the upper watersheds of a river, the more forested it is and the healthier those forests are, the more consistent quality and quantity of water you will get downstream. And what that does is it helps to regulate and avoid things such as flash floods or droughts, provide drinking water for cities and towns, as well as raw material for the building of furniture. And it's an incredible asset that needs to be protected, but it also provides all sorts of services outside of that forest.
The Vietnam Forests and Deltas Project VFD is one of the projects to strengthen the forestry protection and management in Vietnam, initiated by USAID and Vietnam's Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development in 5 years from 2012 to 2017, with a capital of $27.3 million US. The project was implemented in many provinces, namely Nam Định, Thanh Hóa, Nghệ An, and Long An. The objective of the project is to enhance the action plan and respond to climate change and development with low gas emissions from forestry and agriculture in rural areas. The project has supported the Quảng Trị and Đắk Nông province in building action plan for reducing greenhouse emissions through efforts to limit deforestation, forest degradation, sustainable management of forests, and enhance of forest carbon stocks, REDD+. While supporting the forestry companies, the project also concerns forest area managed by communes and households.
Nâng cao nhận thức bước đầu để cho cán bộ của tỉnh, cán bộ của huyện, cán bộ của xã và kể cả người dân địa phương, thì mình cũng có những cái cách làm của mình để mà nó rất là đơn giản để người ta hiểu những vấn đề, nhận thức ra những cái vấn đề giá trị về rừng và những cái biến đổi khí hậu ngày nay nó ảnh hưởng đến rừng và cũng như đời sống của người dân nó như thế nào.
In addition to raising awareness and capacity for officials at the provincial level, the project also supports local authorities in reviewing and planning of forest types in order to organize, plan, and promote the allocation of land and forest land to local people.
Chương trình rất cộng là mang lại ý nghĩa hết sức thiết thực. Đó là giảm được cái mất rừng, gọi là suy thoái rừng, mà giữ được rừng mà diện tích mà Ủy ban nhân xã hiện có.
Chính quyền địa phương thì đều tham gia cái ban chỉ đạo để triển khai thực hiện. Và cái thứ hai nữa là tỉnh đã hỗ trợ thành lập cái ban quản lý đất cộng do xã là cơ quan thường trực cùng phối hợp với các ngành với địa phương.
Launched in Nam Định from early 2014, the Vietnam Forests and Deltas Project has run activities to support authorities and farmers to respond to climate change and natural disaster in forests and coastal areas. At the same time, the project built the agricultural model for people to cope with climate change and develop livelihoods.
Hàng năm địa phương là thường xuyên là tổ chức các cái công tác là tuyên truyền và tập huấn với lại các cái ứng phó với lại các cái biến đổi khí hậu và phòng ngừa thảm hại rủi ro của thiên tai. Nhưng tuy nhiên thì đối với địa phương thì các cái nguồn lực nào cũng còn nhiều là khó khăn, nhất là về nguồn ngân sách, cho nên là nó cũng còn hạn hẹp trong cái việc mà xây dựng cơ sở hạ tầng.
With these activities, the Vietnam Forest and Deltas projects has changed and raised people awareness of forest management and helped local authorities in developing plans such as Green Growth Plan and REDD+. Through these plans, the project has helped local authorities attract domestic investment and gain opportunities to access international funds for climate change resilient activities.
Coming back to our talk today, as I know that the Vietnam Forests and Deltas program has been implemented since 2012. So can you share some of the outstanding achievements of these projects so far?
I think some of the the important successes that we've had working together with the Management Board of Forestry Projects is really looking at the element of sustainable finance. And so Vietnam has developed a system called it's basically Payments for Ecosystem Services, or PFES system. And one of the things that VFD did, or the Vietnam Forests and Deltas Program in USAID, was just to work with the government of Vietnam to make that system more efficient, to make sure that those resources were flowing from sort of the national level to the provinces, and then benefiting those individuals and communities that are living in those forests. I'd just like to talk about the sort of the communities and some of the work that we've done under our green growth. So it's not just about forests, it's about the activities that go on around forests. And in order to finance those activities, it doesn't have to be from the government or from an international donor, but really the private sector has a really important role in that regard. And just an example of that is in Thanh Hoa, where we're working with Lasuco Sugar Company, I guess it is, and they really have an interest in promoting the use of bamboo. And a lot of people see bamboo as a growth industry in Vietnam. But bamboo also serves a lot of benefits directly to forests, but it also does similar things to forests. It stabilizes the soil, it's very easy to regrow, and it traps carbon dioxide.
Right. So what do you think about the attitude and the involvement of the local people in this program?
The best way to conserve Vietnam's forests is to help local communities develop and improve their ability to maintain and produce an income, to take care of their families, to be able to send them to school, as well as to sort of over time improve the quality of life. And what that means is that by working directly with those beneficiaries, what we call them beneficiaries, or individuals or families, that as they improve their sort of standing and quality of life and receive more income for their goods and sort of move out of poverty. Many of the people that live in the forests in Vietnam or around the forests are poor, and so as they do that, they also become the best partner in conserving forests. They're very engaged because that's what they need, right? They want to take care of their families first. They want to get their kids in school, and of course, connecting that to forests where they live, and they love those forests as well. It's like a perfect scenario.
Okay, so can you share some of the experience from the U.S. in managing and protecting forests?
But similar to Vietnam, as we started to grow economically, our deforestation rate started to spike. And it wasn't until it reached a critical point that we started to realize that we really need to get on top of this problem. And once that happened, then we started to bend it down and then really try to reduce. And eventually, our forest stocks are going up, similar to Vietnam. But so in that process, and we're talking over 200, 250 years, we learned quite a few things. And of course, we have protected areas like Vietnam does. We started to create these networks, what we call wilderness reserves. And those wilderness reserves are set aside in perpetuity, forever. They can never be used for a commercial purpose. And they're there, one, for the enjoyment of the people of the United States, but also they're there to conserve the ability of those forests that are up in the mountains to produce water for our rivers.
Can you share more about the plan for the Vietnam Forests and Deltas program in 2016? Will it come to an end in 2017, or there will be another projects followed by this project?
So VFD is just one of many projects that we have. VFD will not end in 2017. It's going to be at least 2018 or maybe even longer. We've been working on that with the Management Board of Forestry Projects. But we also have other programs that we're working with the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, or we also are starting some work directly with provinces. The province of Quang Nam, also trying to work with Hue in order to work with their forestry resources and the communities that live within them.
Thank you so much for joining our program today. And that is also the end of our program Sharing Vietnam for today. We talk about the VFD, the Vietnam Forests and Deltas program from the USAID. And we do hope that with the support of international organizations, there will be more projects and programs like this to support Vietnam in managing the forestry in the future sustainably. For comments and feedback, please send it to sharingvietnam@netvietv.net. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again tomorrow.